What's up, everybody? Welcome to the stream. Today, I was planning on cleaning up some stuff for some brushes that are just kind of in my setup, at least here in like the first few minutes. That was something that we could do while we're waiting for some people to pop in and join us, and then we'll probably get back to working on our mannequin, which has gone a little bit more beyond mannequin at this point. Towards the end of our stream yesterday, we were starting to do a lot of stuff in here on the face, just kind of figuring out proportions, blocking some more stuff out. But right now, I have a couple brushes, as I just mentioned, stuff that I don't use very often anymore because it's just outdated. Stuff like an insert eye brush that I have that essentially inserts an eyeball with a physical eye setup here with all the correct what would you call it, concavity, gosh concavity and convexity on the lens. So I'm just updating some of these things really quick, and then what I plan on doing after I update those is adding those into my brushes that I have here on Gumroad, which just right now include my main sculpting brushes. These what do I have here? 8 or so brushes that I use. I think this actually includes more than 8 brushes, but I don't even have them listed, so I'll be updating that as well. This has needed some updating for a while, so if you guys already own my brushes over on Gumroad, this will just be a free update for you, and if you want to grab these, you can feel free to do that at any point, and then you'll get any future updates as well. So that's what I'm going to be working on for the first, probably 10-15 minutes here, and then we'll get back to our mannequin boy. So let me check this out. So this is an insert eye brush that I have, and you guys might have this as well from an older version, just to show you guys what this looks like. We'll turn off transparency. So you insert the eye, and you would have the opportunity to, put this on your face wherever you need it. It comes with multiple, let's see, turn that off. It comes with multiple poly groups, and then it actually has materials on it. And the objective here with something like this is to set the lens to be a little bit transparent, which you can do down in your display properties. And I'll probably show that off a little bit for messing with some of these render settings as I continue to update this. So we got our lens here. I want to make the convexity around the lens a little bit larger, a little bit more round as well. Kind of looking at this shape, feels like it could use some more volume. There's a few different ways I could go about doing that. Kind of just planning on pulling out some of these edges, pulling out some of this form here, and just continuing to pull out the rest of that. Nothing too complicated, just kind of messing with some of these edge loops. Trying to get a shape that I like. And the objective here, I use this on a lot of my stylized characters. You could create a more realistic eye if you wanted to get specific sizes for your iris and everything else. You could start measuring the proportions here. What I do with this essentially is I insert it on my character, and then I have some poly groups set up so that if I need to, I can just mask something off, come in here, shrink, scale scale the pupil, scale up the entire front of the iris, all that good stuff. So if that sounds like something that you're interested in, it's a pretty good technique, and it's not really too hard to make something like this. But I'll just kind of keep that. I'll probably keep this the way it is. Maybe if anything, round this out a little bit more. Let's see. Do a general squash here. And back to our lens. And also welcome everybody that's joining us. Hope you're having a good Friday. If you have no idea what you're looking at on screen, well, I'm sorry. So we're taking a break from our Mannequin character that we've been working on. I'll pull him back up since we got some more people in chat now. So here's our Mannequin that has kind of gone a little bit beyond Mannequin of Android 17. Yesterday we started working a lot more here on the shapes in the head and the face. Started getting in our eyes, our eyelids, which I plan on making a new eyelid brush as well, just to make inserting some of this a little bit easier. I think it'll kind of speed up that process, and even maybe make an insert kind of stylized ear. I'd like to eventually get to a point where I can kind of piecemeal a lot of this stuff together that I kind of do repetitively, so saves on time. Especially I'd like to get some really nice stylized hands, because right now, typically what I do when creating my hands is I start blocking out the base of the palm, and then I use an IMM finger brush that I have, and then insert one finger, and then just start adjusting that single finger from there, and then duplicate that to make the rest of the fingers and the thumb. So I'd like to make that process a little bit faster. I have a lot of hands from different characters that I've sculpted, so if I do that, what I'll probably end up doing is grabbing one of those hands as a starting point, and then configuring that into something that I can reuse for other stuff. I have a lot of base meshes, but I prefer doing a lot of stuff from scratch, but just for specific things, like if I want to insert a hand on a character, it'd be really nice to just be able to do that really quickly and really easily. So we'll be looking at maybe doing that, depending on how long some of this stuff takes. And I think there's just too many edge loops in here, and it's starting to make that shape a little bit too tight. I'd like to round it out. The way it's transitioning is pretty stupid. Get a quick save here. I'm guessing that my undo history is on. It's the only reason that should be taking so long. We'll give that a second here. And I know we're starting the stream here a little bit early. Seems like I should just change the time to be an hour earlier anymore. Oh man. Well, that's no good. It is saving our undos. It's going through and saving the undos on all of our subtools. So this will probably take like another minute. I think the last one took like 40 seconds or something, and we've done a lot more since then. So I'm guessing it might take, maybe a minute or two total. Hopefully not that long, but I hope you guys are doing well. I see some more people joining us. Welcome to the stream, guys. If anybody's working on anything cool today, I'd love to see it. Check it out. I'll also mention, while I'm waiting on this, I'll go ahead and put the instructions in the chat for people that are maybe new here. But on Saturdays, we do some critique live sessions. And I'll kind of, let's see if I can find the last one that we did. So every Saturday we do some live critiques here on stream. Last Saturday, we got to look at some really cool stuff. Someone was working on a hyena character, which was really fun. A lot of the stuff that we ended up changing on this was just stuff to make the pose a little bit more dynamic, try to make the silhouette more dynamic, that kind of thing, and then just like basic cleanup. Typically basic cleanup is one of those main things that we look at. We had another kind of stylized character. This is a concept by Hello Luigi. This one was really fun to take a look at. I think this was all modeled in Maya or Max. It was all poly modeled, so I think they just imported it to ZBrush to send me a Z tool really quick, which is totally fine if you want to do that as well. Let's see, what was the other one? A character from The Walking Dead. I think it's Maggie. I have never seen The Walking Dead, so I don't know the characters' names. But this character was really cool. I think the only thing that I changed was a few proportions in the body, like really minor things, and then just some re-sculpting of some stuff around the face, just to start getting into a more appealing direction. I took a lot of this, if I remember correctly, I took a lot of this backwards a little bit to start really kind of planing out and blocking out a lot of the stuff in the face that I was noticing in the concept. And then the last one that we looked at was someone was just trying to create a little chibi character from their imagination. So we looked at some of the basics in terms of fundamentals for, you know, sculpting some stuff that's kind of in that really early stage. Let me undo my undos. Turn that off. Now our quick saves will go a lot faster. And that's been a lot of what we've been talking about while sculpting this character. So again, if you guys want to get your stuff critiqued live on stream, that's going to be this Saturday, also known as tomorrow, I guess. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Don't feel like you have to have, you know, something super finished and polished to send it in. It doesn't really matter what stage it's at, as long as you're seeking to improve it. We can take a look here and hopefully get some good progress. But yeah, follygon@gmail.com. Send in your stuff, ZTools please, and just include some info about the project, the file, and include your Twitch username so we know who you are. Other than that is all. This thing got a little bit funky here, didn't it? Let's see if we can rein this back in. Just a tad. And you know what? I think we're starting to get this like negative sweep there, which is definitely not what we want. We want this to be a rounded lens. Come on, mask off. Make sure I'm masking the correct edge loop only. Based on where that pivot point went, I knew that it was wrong. And it's definitely feeling a lot better, more rounded there. So the objective with something like this extra layer on top, just to show you an example, we'll turn on our poly paint. So I typically set, if I do a lens, I'll set it to black. For this, I'm gonna redo the poly paint on this as well. MRGB, toy plastic white, fill, and then for all of this, I'm just gonna do black. That's still bleeding, which is fine, I guess. The reason the color is bleeding here is because poly paint is vertex color, not face color, so we get a little bit of bleeding in there. Let's maybe set that. Let's kind of pick a real bluish, nice blue real quick. So something quick, and then for the lens, obviously, again, keep that set to pure black. Just make sure that's set there. And the way that the light, so when you're creating a lens, the objective is to get the light to interact with the eyeball, similar to what you would see in reality, even if it's for a stylized character. So let me, I'll just add some subdivisions to both of these, just so we get a cleaner reflection there. And I'll even clean up this color really fast. Not that it is incredibly important. So we got our eyeball and we have our lens. So then we take our lens with that selected, go down into our display properties under BPR settings, and you want to click BPR transparent shading. Would you like to turn it on? Just click yes and set your visibility for this. Typically, if I remember right, for working with black, it's either extremely high or extremely low. I want to say it's extremely high for these settings. So let's just do a quick BPR test, and you can kind of see how that is starting to work already. So with the light direction coming directly from on top, well, not directly on top, but about at that 3/4 point of the sphere. So if we rotated that light around, it's coming down at about this angle right now. The first light is hitting right here. So that's actually the reflection on the lens, and these are the reflections on the bottom part of that eyeball. You could probably push this in a little bit more so we're maybe not getting that reflection point, but there's that reflection point. Watch again. So we're still getting that highlight from the lens, and then you can kind of play around with your BPR visibility here. You could drop this really low or really high and mess with the color of the lens. I've found that black, if I remember right, black works pretty good with the transparency settings. I can't remember why black. Let me test white here. Yeah, white tends to make things look really foggy. I'm not sure why, but black seems to do a pretty good job, and then it actually starts to get a little bit of that shadowed effect there, and then you can, sit here and play with these all day, these different settings. Try something like 50 maybe, start playing with that, trying to get some kind of nice effect in there. But that is the basic idea here in ZBrush for trying to get some quick transparency settings. I'm going to undo those subdivision levels and probably adjust my lens back a little bit more, because the lens is a little short, which isn't a huge problem, but sometimes that edge ends up being a little bit visible there. I don't really like that. I'm gonna add in extra edge loop and probably move this back, scale it in, and cool. Alright, so I think that's probably, something I might want to try doing is turning this more into a point sphere so that we can get rid of this tight loop of geo here. I wonder if it'll let me delete this. It actually let me delete that. Wow. Incredible. ZBrush normally isn't that easy. Let's see, let's turn on X and Y and a little bit of local sim. Whoops. No? You don't want to do Y? Now it's working. Instead of that, let's do radial symmetry along the Z at a radial count of 4. That's more what I want. Gotta be creative here with our selections. So I'm trying to just, let's see, let's make this a little bit easier to work with so it's not super tight in there. I think that's a lot nicer. Get away from that super sharp pull in there that we had before. What I was thinking that I could do is actually come in here and split some of this, but I think that's probably fine. Maybe even a little bit more relaxed here. Kind of even this out. There we go. Oh, one thing that is happening is those verts are starting to dip in a little bit. So let's grab our move brush, hold Alt, pull out a little bit. Make sure that that's staying nice and rounded. So I'm using the radial sim with local sim to end up getting that effect there. And I'm gonna turn that off. We can go back to our standard sim. Tell me what's going on. How you doing? I'm in the process of adjusting an insert eye brush that I've had for a while. And I'm just gonna update a couple brushes on my Gumroad. before we get back into our mannequin that we've been working on. I'm going to make this, I think, a little bit deeper as well. Whoops, wrong way. That didn't work. That's still... I could make that deeper, or I could just remove that entirely. I can't remember if ZBrush freaks out or not on backface geo. It does. It does not render backface geometry. So I'll probably keep that in there. And let's try that one more time, but instead of masking that the way I did before, I'll mask this way. There we go. That's what I wanted. Alright, so we got an eyeball and a lens now. I will merge these two together. And then we should have polygroups set up for all of this. Cool. Let's go into our brushes. Click on Create Insert Mesh. New. That'll just create that brush for us. Whoops. Now we have that, and we can insert that on our character, in its eye sockets, whatever you're working on. And then you can split that up into its separate subtools if you need to, and everything else. Also, insert multi-mesh brushes or insert mesh brushes, curve brushes, all of that will retain material and color info, which is very nice. So if you want to set up materials on something like this and colors, you can do that now. Black Robot, what's going on? Welcome to the stream. How you doing? So let me save this out. Save as, just so I have this. Let me find that folder that I was working on. Try to update some of these brushes. Where did that go? Alright, cool. So there's our insert eye brush. And then really quick for those that are just joining us, that want to see what we're working on, we have been working on a few different mannequins. Here's some more examples of some stylized character mannequins that I've been doing over the past few days now. A little bit of a muscly boy. A lot of the intent of these, here's our grandma, the intent of these projects is to try to create something simple, clean, and something appealing. You're really trying to focus on those primary forms at this stage. And I gave homework to a few of you that have been coming in over the week to essentially say, you know, try to create something similar to one of these, maybe find a reference that you want to copy, and then, you know, spend at least a few hours trying to block out a mannequin character. Here's a block out that I took a little bit further. I don't know if we're going to sculpt the whole character. I've kind of pushed a lot further than what I was planning on doing for something like this. Where's my art station? But if you guys want to see this full character process, I have a YouTube. I have a video on my YouTube channel. I have a video on my YouTube channel where you guys can check out the entire process of how I sculpt characters like this. It's this one. It's like, what is it? 2/4. The 12th to last video I uploaded. Just go to my videos and you'll find it. The entire sculpting process, all in 2 hours, going through the whole thing. So we just got done recreating an insert eye mesh brush that I had, kind of updating it a little bit, getting it to that a little bit of an updated feel so that I can actually use this on future projects. Another thing that I would like to create, let's see. get in here on our head and duplicate that. I have a insert brush that I made that I have not used. I just call it the insert face stuff so that I don't have to redo a bunch of stuff over and over again. And it's essentially just this. Let's see. It's teeth, eyes, eyebrows, and eyelashes all set up in just one quick subtool where you can just get in here, slide it into place, scale it up, and depending on the character, obviously there will be proportional changes that comes with all that. So I want to take this brush and break this up quite a bit more. I want to make this eyelash its own thing, and probably the eyebrow shape as well. And I already have a brush that inserts creased cylinders, so I don't really need that one. But I just want to split this all this stuff up a little bit more so that I can actually use this a little bit more efficiently. Let's grab our. Let's just toggle that off and delete all of that. And grab our eyebrow and our eyelash. This eyelash could also be used to insert an eyelid, much like what I have done with my curved tube brush. It's really easy to make stuff like this geometry. It's just a cube that's extruded and creased a little bit. Same up here. Not too difficult to make. Doesn't take very long at all. And then once you make it once, you can do what I'm about to do, and then have multiple versions that you can save for later. So let's maybe, if we're going to be using this later, we want it to be as good as it can be. So for an eyebrow shape, I mean, let's see. Let's maybe rotate this a little bit to fit a few more characters. I can't remember what character I ripped these from. I think it was maybe my my base mesh, my newest base mesh that I have on my Gumroad. I think it's from this character. It looks like yeah, it is. Definitely this one. This is the witch character, or the base mesh that I made for my witch character that I sculpted most recently. But that's where I ripped these from, for those that have been following along. So let's maybe delete some of these. You know what? Let's put this perfectly in the middle. Looks great. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Just some cleanup of tools today, so that do a little bit of work now, so that we can save a lot of work possibly in the future. That's the plan, the hope. Let's see. What's this guy's eyebrow shape? Not that I want to conform to this. Yeah, this is more of a kind of tapered triangular thing going on here with a little bit of twist in it. Each eyebrow is going to be unique for these kinds of characters. Excuse me. Let's see. Probably just flatten this out a bit. Other than that, I think it's probably fine. Pretty good for reuse later. Even for the character I'm using now, I could probably at least insert these as a really good starting point so that I could save time on other work. For the eyelash though, eyelash/eyelid, let's inflate this a little bit. Oh, I also very much need to make sure that the normals on these are correct, which they are, so that's good. And then, so a little bit of inflate, and then I think a little bit of tapering. And obviously, like I said, every character is going to be different, so This won't be just a simple, you know, place and go kind of deal. It's gonna be requiring adjustments no matter what, but that's okay. That's to be expected. I think, when inserting this, it might be a little bit too long. I don't know. Let's actually try this one. I think this might not be terrible. So very quickly, let's create a brush here for our eyebrow. And actually, maybe we can just make this one brush instead. So brush, create insert mesh, new. And honestly, I could make a bunch of different shapes for these kinds of things. So I could do a variety of eyebrows and make an insert eyebrow brush that has just like 10 different variations, which isn't a bad idea. And then I could do the same thing for eyelashes and eyelids. So for this one, what I'll do instead is, I think the same button and append, right? Click OK. Yes, great. So now those are both here in this one brush. They are named whatever the subtool ends up being named, so I'll probably end up changing that. But let's do a quick testaroonie. I'll probably have to change some stuff. So we got our eyebrow that we could just quickly click and drag up here, right? And then move into place. Awesome, sure. Let's say we like that. And then our eyelash / eyelid. I'm gonna click and drag that out really quick. And this doesn't really conform to the shape. It also pulls out really far. There are a few things that cause that. Let's go back here, now that I know what some of the problems that we need to fix are. So first, let's call this eyebrow, and then we'll call this eyelid / lash, or not. Eyelid lash, sure. And let's go to deformation unify. So we'll move this to the center of our scene and make it about 2 units in scale. And I'll probably have to mess with the insert depth for these brushes, which is going to be in depth here under brush depth. So I'll adjust that in just a moment. ZBrush looks so much more polished than Blender sculpting, but $800 is a little too expensive for a hobbyist. There is a free trial, and then there also is the, oh gosh, what is the lesser version of ZBrush called? I do not own it, so I don't know. It comes with a little less tools. I think you can get it for like $150, $200. And you can still experience a lot of the sculptural tools. It's definitely the industry standard when it comes to digital sculpting. So it's definitely going to have a lot more tools for getting the job done. ZBrush Core, thank you, Cooking Milk. The core tools for ZBrush, yes. So maybe that's something to look at. There's also a free trial. I'm not a ZBrush spokesperson, but I am an official streamer. I stream on their channel on Tuesdays at 6 p.m. So I encourage people to, if you're interested in grabbing it, go for it. But if you're just a hobbyist, you know, like you said, maybe a little bit too much for something like that. So I could make a bunch of different variations, which could be cool. I think one is probably just fine for now. Maybe we can mess with this later. But it's cool to make brushes and tools and stuff that can save you a lot of time later, if that is the case. Typically for eyebrows, you know, I don't really, it's not like it takes a long time for me to sit here and make an eyebrow. eyelids can take a little bit longer, but I can't really do a ton of variation on them. Yes, append. Make sure that that went to the correct brush there. Cool, so now they're named correctly, and the next step would be to set up the depth for insertion. That sounds weird. Alright, brush depth. Let's just start at like 0 here. And I have symmetry on, so that's why that is inserting the way it is. The angle's a little weird, but that's okay. Start with something like that, and then it's not too difficult to scale and rotate. Use a move brush, move some stuff around, start playing with the shape a lot more. I think that'll do. And the other one that we need to test out is obviously the eyelid / lash. So brush depth, let's also set this to just 0 really quick, see how this does. Let's maybe draw this out over here a little bit more. Still pulling out really far from the surface, but again, not too difficult to rotate into position. And this was obviously used on a different character. But then all we have to do is use our move brush and we can start adjusting out some of this shape. I don't know if I would actually use this technique or not. I'm not sure how much time this would actually save. Because the shape, at least for something like this character, because the shape is so different. It's not terrible. It's not bad at all, actually. So I don't know if I would actually use something like this. I might. It doesn't seem, you know, that actually didn't take much time at all. Everything's creased for me. I kind of like it. I'm into it. So the next step, of course, obviously just saving the brush, deleting the extra geometry that we don't need any longer. Brush, select the correct brush, save as, insert eyebrow lid lash. Sure. BLL. Other than that, I got a few other brushes that I could play with and update. Or we could spend some time making some cool new brushes if there's anything that you guys in particular would want or want to see. I plan on adding all of these to my Gumroad brushes that I already have on here. So if you already own this, this will just be a free update. You should get an email after I update the upload, and then you'll just be able to download the new brushes. I'm also uploading all of my original B brushes that I sculpt with that have kind of changed a little bit since the last update. I've been meaning to update these for a while, and that's why I'm also including a bunch of other brushes with it. Other than that, let's see, what else did I have on the list for brushes? The other one was a hand. I kind of wanted to do a hand. Let's see here. Insert to ear. I wouldn't mind adjusting that. See how that brush is doing. So I have an insert ear brush that I use on characters that are both stylized and a little bit more realistic. And this is just something that, you know, I kind of got tired of doing over and over again. Because ears aren't, I don't think ears are difficult to sculpt. They're just a little time consuming. So let's insert an ear into our character. And I think the depth here, let's adjust that, and then see how that does those changes. I have Solo turned on. Solo freaks out with insert mesh brushes. That is more so what I wanted. So just a really quick way to insert some ears. And then, like I said, I use this not only on realistic characters, but also on stylized characters. This is just an ear that I sculpted on one of my streams. I spent a stream sculpting like 3 ears just to kind of go through the entire process. But for something like this, these actually have subdivision levels that you can reconstruct, which is super nice. And then you can just come in here. Let's say you need a little bit more stylized ear. So all we have to do is smooth out and simplify a lot of the form. Whoops, and insert another ear on top. And just kind of clean that up, and you look just like that. You can start heading towards a more stylized ear with very little time. So this is stuff that I would use to speed up my workflow a lot if I'm especially doing something for production. If I'm getting paid to do something, time is of the essence. If I'm doing, stuff for myself, though, typically I like to do stuff from scratch just so I can get more time practicing, get more time sculpting ears, that kind of thing. So I think I like the quick little depth change that I just did there. So I'm going to resave this out, and I'm going to have to re-import these later so that my scene can be updated as well. Save as insert ear. Maybe we could make an insert nose and insert mouth. We could just do the whole thing. Insert face. I was wondering if you can do a quick block in of stylized hands. Always curious to see how people do it from scratch. We started doing a little, this isn't really how I would do it, but I was just trying to create some rough mittens that would represent this guy's hands. We did that on yesterday's stream. For a block out, typically what I do, I'm trying to think what video I would have worked on hands last. But if you're looking for some of my blocked out hands, these mannequins on my Gumroad all have this base hand that I use. Actually, let me import one of those so I can show you. In terms of process, while working on the witch, I definitely created some hands. Do I actually have these hands as a brush? I don't think I do. Which is essentially why I wanted to make an insert hand brush. Tool. I don't think I have them. I know I have the hand somewhere. Here's some, pretty clean, stylized hands that I can show off really quick. With something like this, in terms of process, just so you can get an idea, I'll start off with the palm of the hand, starting off with just a sphere, pulling it around, getting the basic shapes, blocking out the plane changes, much like what I do with sculpting everything else. Getting all the different forms in there, connecting in a wrist, and then the next step after you get the palm is to create one finger. These are all just really low-res pieces of geo. I haven't even really done too much with them. But get one finger that you really like, duplicate it out for your other fingers, duplicate another one for your thumb, obviously removing a digit, and then connecting that into the fatty addition that you have here for the base of the thumb. Other than that, just kind of working around with it using reference if you need it. That's basically it. I actually think that I'll use this to create an insert hand for some other characters, but try to maybe clean this up. So I'll just click on delete other, or no. That will not work in this case. Merge it down. Delete other deletes all your other subtools. Okay, so that deletes everything except for this. I'll also unify this to the center of my scene. And I think we're going to use this to make something a little bit more workable for future insertions. Whoops. Split that off. We can reconstruct subdivs on this. I don't know if we'll need them. Honestly, that low poly isn't too terrible for something like this. I would like to adjust some of the stuff in the fingers. Let's shove our mannequins over here to the side for a little bit. Mannequin boys. How do you retopo your work? If I am going to do anything for retopo manually, I'll do it in 3D Coat. For my professional work, I rarely, if ever, have to do any kind of production, digital production, manual retopology. Your ZBrush crashed again. That is just kind of how it goes. I'm sorry. I don't think there's... Ooh, I kind of wanted to make also a... So that ear brush that I just made, right? Where'd this? Save some time on making this shape, even though this is incredibly simple. Here, let me see something. This is a really common stylized ear shape here. So let's, we're going like brush ham today, making all sorts of neat things. So I think I'm gonna add a little bit more form to this and then also make this a part of that insert ear. So I have a more stylized and more realistic ear. I think that would be really cool. I would like doing that. Because that's actually something that I could really use. So insert poly loop function. Crease, edge loop, probably uncrease these. Can I bevel this edge? Is this gonna freak out? A little bit. So instead of creasing these edges, what I'll have to do... you know what? That's not too bad of a shape, actually. If I want it to retain more of that form, though, I can add in an edge loop down here towards the bottom for a quick example. And that will help retain that shape down there a little bit better. I don't know. Let's stick with what I have here, though, for a little bit. I will either split this. Let's instead do this really quick. Slide infinite, or move infinite. Hold shift. Getting a little bit blocky, but we'll fix that. And we will extrude single poly. Make sure that's not going through to the other side. Start to get that shape. And now that I have that, I want to start rounding this back out to match that a little bit more closely. No work lost, pretty good at saving your work before hitting the buttons. What ends up happening for me typically is quick save will just grab it for me. There are some cases where there are specific types of crashes that are just a little bit more quick. They won't quick save anything. Those are the most frustrating. So I'm going to slide some of these edges around. what I love so much about polymodeling in ZBrush is that you have all your other tools that you can work with in here. So I have all my mask lassos while polymodeling. You know, I have my slice curve that I can kind of cheat some edge loops and stuff. There's some really cool little tricks that you can do. Trying to snap to that vert. There we go. Also, another thing that I love about the transpose line that you can't do necessarily with the 3D gizmo, you might be able to do it, but it's not as visually apparent. I'm not actually sure if you can do it or not, is you can snap between vertices like what I'm doing right now. So I'm grabbing my transpose line, snapping to this vertice, snapping to that vertice, and then holding shift to drag this edge along there. And that's not masked off fully, or something's wrong. There we go. A little strange. Fun fact, if you guys didn't know, when using your mask brushes, the RGB intensity can affect the strength of your mask. So if you want to paint in a mask a little bit weaker than 100%, or you don't want your sensitivity, your brush sensitivity to do anything, you can crank that really low. I don't really like it, and typically it only gets turned on by accident for me. But there we go, some more rounding out there. Could probably stand to move that in a little. Round this form out. Probably round out up here as well. Using, of course, the dynamic subdivs to see what something will look like before we actually add any real subdivision levels, which is very nice. Can start kind of freehanding some of this a little bit. But I want this to be pretty good if it's going to be something that I end up using later. Black Robot says, why don't you need to retopo? I don't need to do manual retopology. Most of the retopoing that I do is, let me find a good example. Down here in the legs, for instance, I've used a combination of ZBrush with polygroups to get the proper edge flow that I need. Probably a little bit too high resolution for what you're thinking about for something for like real-time video game, film, anything that you would need a real-time application for, VR, whatever. Everything that I do for professional work is for physical production. So manual retopology is only necessary if you're animating a character. If it's even if it's something for real time and it's not animated, you don't really need to do manual retopology. You could just decimate the object and have it retain most of its form. And probably even get a lower poly count than you would with manual retopology. Decimation's awesome. Especially the decimation tools in ZBrush. I'm a huge fan. You can get some, you can just actually, like, here. You can do some really cool stuff with it. Oh, actually, here, I have a great example. I'll be right back. So this, I don't know if we can see it, there we go. This is actually a 3D scan of me. 3D scan data that I had taken from me at SIGGRAPH 2 or 3 years ago. And then I took it into ZBrush, sculpted it up, cleaned it up a little bit, and then ended up doing some decimation to it to get that cool, like, low poly look. So a way that you guys can do stuff like that to play around with your own 3D models, it's really easy. So you can take something that you've modeled, right? Let's say you have this all merged together, Dynamesh, that's perfectly fine. Go into Z plugin under Decimation Master, we'll just do a quick pre-process on that. Let that calculate. And then under decimation here, I'm just gonna turn this down really low. 1%, starting to get there. 0.1 maybe, we'll go even lower. Start to get some of that cool low poly look. Really not that hard. Decimation Master, the way Decimation Master works is it will, you know, attempt to retain your form as best as it can. 0.05 maybe, even lower. It will try to retain the form as best as it can while putting polys, you know, at surface turns and stuff like that. So decimate that even lower, and you know, you can just play around with it as much as you want. But you can get some really cool stuff. It's a lot of fun to play with. Decimation, when I'm using decimation, I've shown it off a lot when doing the print ready stuff for SLS full color sandstone, which I have links down below, but I go through that entire process. I have a video here that goes through the whole thing for a SpongeBob muffin. I actually haven't ordered a print of this yet. I feel like I should, since I went through the whole process and showed it off. But here's all of those on my desk, you know. I got a ton of these, and I go through that same decimation process for these just to get them to a poly count where I can actually upload it and get it printed through something like Shapeways. Alright, let's get back to our ear. Yeah, I show off the prints here on my desk all the time, but the decimation stuff, I play around with it just for fun. But, you know, if I'm 3D printing something and I don't want the slicer software to take forever to calculate that, I'll typically, you know, decimate that, get the file size down really low. When I was working on a lot of stuff for life-size figures for physical production, Black Robot, well, thank you for the sub. I appreciate it. That's very nice of you. I think that's our first sub this month, so hey, awesome, thank you. When I was doing a lot of stuff for physical production for life-size figures, the character had to be milled out of foam with a Kuka arm, a giant mill Kuka arm. Very similar to this. Actually, that might be the exact same one. So it's like a 6-axis mill arm. You set up your foam on that, much like what they're doing here. They're just doing this on a flat plane, though. Typically, it's set up on a stand, and then the arm can rotate all the way around that and start milling out the object. Whatever 3D file you end up feeding into the software for the arm to mill out. But if you want the Kuka arm to be able to process that in a reasonable amount of time, you need the file to be a lot smaller. So one of the tricks is using decimation to bring that file size down, bring that poly count down, and then you know, save yourself a lot of time on processing and all that. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I actually, I have some stuff that I can show off for the, I can't really show off a lot of the digital files from that, from my time working in that stuff, which really sucks. It's just kind of the way it goes in the industry sometimes. What I can show off, though, is some of the, like, physical stuff. I don't think I've ever shown this stuff off on stream too much, but, you know, I've got to work on a lot of stuff for amusement parks. Like, here's a skeleton. This is the skeleton husband, and there's the, what's his name? I don't know. Fishman. I can't remember his name. These are both from Hotel Transylvania. I think I got to do like 4 different skeleton characters. A buddy of mine did the Fishman. He really wanted to do him. He's a really cool character. But let's see. These are all like really crappy photos, but I did a lot of stuff for the Wolfman. He was a lot of fun. A lot of these are also animated. The paint on them isn't great. I'm the digital boy though, so I didn't really have a hand in the physical production. I did some stuff on this guy. I don't think I did anything on Frank. Or actually, I did do this character, but I didn't do this specific one. I did one where he has a giant backpack on him. And I did not get to do the mummy. The mummy was pretty easy, though. They ended up using physical wrappings for that. There's like, oh, here he is. Is this the one? I did some stuff on this one. I didn't sculpt the original character, but I think I did the hair and the breakout, if I remember correctly. I definitely did the breakout. I can't remember if I did the hair on this character or not. But yes. Oh, I also did the shoes on this. Or maybe not this one. I did shoes on one of them. But I think there were 3 of those guys. But yes, a lot of fun. Like I said, I can't really show off the digital files for them. It wouldn't legally probably go over too well for me. You use Sculptris Pro too much. ZBrush and Dynamesh, you're not worried. Coco, no. Those were all from Hotel Transylvania. Coco. Oh, isn't that the one on Netflix? I think I've seen that. If it's the one I'm thinking of. Remember Me? Which is what the movie should have been named. That's a good song. It's a good movie. It's cute. Your nephew loves Coco. It's got good music. I'm into it. You use Decimation Master when bringing stuff over into Maya. Makes sense. Make that a little bit easier to work with. Or Sculpt, yeah, actually with Sculptris Pro and just going over your model with a smooth brush, I can start to decimate. Isn't that the term that they use? Decimate plus tessellation, decimate. I believe that is what they say. Or what they call it. They made up a new word for their new feature. I don't like this super shoopa dupa strong point up here. Too sharp. Let's round out this ear. And probably, let's try deleting that edge loop back there. I'm just trying to round out the back of the ear a little bit more. Maybe that was too much. Instead of deleting it, let's try rounding it out with a bevel. And gone. Thank you for the follow and welcome. How are you doing? It's Friday, guys. You know what that means. New Smash Bros. Came out today. I pre-ordered it forever ago, and it should be arriving in the mail today. Oh boy. Kind of rounding that out a little bit. I feel like that, I don't know. I'll stick with this shape. I think if I add some subdivs here. Yeah, I think I'll maybe bring in some of this as well. Like I said, I want this to be pretty clean if I'm going to be reusing it. So I might as well take the time to clean it up now, right? don't know, I think that's pretty good for something low poly that we can just insert in there and then adjust. So I will keep that. And if I end up, you know, coming back and making changes to this later, that's totally cool. So, to modify that brush, let's see, we'll duplicate our ear, again, unify, and probably apply it from this angle, right? So insert ear, and then feel a sneeze coming. I'm gonna die. Create insert mesh, append. Pressing M, yes, that's fine. Alright, that also means that I need to change that ear. How am I gonna do this? I've confused myself. 1 second here. The name is messed up on this too. Ear tune, you know what, your name doesn't actually matter. You're the only one that I care about. You're the only one I care about, ear tune. And the names on these don't really matter. I'm just kind of doing it for my own sake. Alright. I'll just call you ear. Sure. And I think I'm gonna have to just make a new brush because the depth on these is gonna be messed up anyway. So create, insert, new, sure. Ear tune, append, yes, 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 yes. Ear tune, okay. Now with both of those, all I have to do is set the depth to 0 and I think we'll be solid. And now we have a new ear brush that can insert a super stylized ear or something a little bit more realistic. Let's test it out. So first up, the little stylized ear. All we'd have to do is kind of just push and pull this around after inserting it and deal with all the lag because I had smooth on. Other than that, I think it's great. All right, and then the other one. Just a quick test, make sure it works. Perfect, all right, cool. Let me save that and throw my pen on the ground. Yeah, we did it. So far we have created 3 new brushes. An insert ear brush that has a realistic ear and a tune style ear, as well as an updated insert eye brush. And then I've also created an insert eyebrow and an insert eyebrow, lash, and lid combo brush. So those will all probably come in handy later. As I mentioned earlier, I'm going to just be adding these to my brushes here for free on Gumroad. So if you already own this, you'll just be able to download the update. You should get an email about it. If not, just come back to Gumroad and log in, and you'll just be able to re-download whatever I add to this. I'm also, I have my, my B standard sculpting brushes, all 8 of these, but I'll also be adding some more brushes in here as well. I have some other stuff. For example, I was going to add in those 3 brushes that I just created, the insert ear, eyebrow, eyelid, what was the other one? Eyeball, the eyeball combo thing. And then I have a few other standard brushes that I use from time to time that I'll add in there. But yes, I'll add that after I'm finished streaming here. You like that you can have more resolution on edges and want to see tessellation on areas when it should be smoothed out. It's like the model being decimated in selective areas. That's exactly what it is, yeah. You have to wait for Christmas. My family all got the game, and we're gifting it to one another. Oh, for the Super Smash Brothers. We're all adults. We should play the game now. That's hilarious. Well, once I do get Smash and start playing it, I'll share my what do you call it? Friend code? I don't really have many friends on my Nintendo Switch. I think it's just a few people that I know in real life that have a Nintendo Switch. So I'll share that. I'll have to look it up. I don't know what it is. I don't even know how to look it up, actually. I'm sure it's somewhere on the main menu. Alright, so we've created a few brushes, and as I mentioned, that's probably all we'll do in terms of that. But we'll get back to working on this guy, or if there's anything specific that you guys want to see. Oh, you know what? The other thing I was going to work on was this hand. Maybe we'll do that for a little bit too. But if you're just joining us for the first time and checking out what's going on, I've been sculpting a few stylized character mannequins, and it's been a lot of fun just kind of playing around with these different shapes. Here, where's the other one? A little old lady as well. The main idea here, the main thing that you want to keep in mind is keep things as low resolution and as simple as you possibly can. So really simple, really clean shapes, really clean silhouette. If we drop to just black and white here, and look at our other guy as well, still reads as a strong man, making sure that it reads well from all directions. But yeah. And then I started doing this guy here, which is Android 17. And it was going to just be a block out, but then it kind of started taking on more and more of those secondary forms, and we might end up just doing the full character. We'll see. No promises yet. But I do want to do a little bit of cleanup to this hand and maybe answer some questions about that. Or if you guys have anything else in particular that you would like to see, maybe we can talk some more about that. I also mentioned that, again, tomorrow we're doing the live stream critiques. If you guys want to get in on that, if somebody wants to type in !critique in the chat, the instructions for how to do that will be there. So just !critique in chat, and we'll give you the instructions for where you can send your ZTool files. But let's get in here and take a look at our hand, look at some cleanup that we can do, and figure out how we can repurpose this for future characters. So pretty simple forms going on. I have some nice plane breaks here. I have some subdivs that I'll probably want to get rid of. Maybe just exaggerate some of these forms a little bit more and then remesh it just to get something a little bit cleaner to work with. We'll see how it goes. We'll just kind of do a once over and then start thinking about how exactly we can reuse this. I'll probably clean up these fingers. I was kind of looking at some Disney characters when I was working on these. One thing that I do want to retain in there is the overall gesture of the hand, which for the neutral can be, you know, fairly important. But when you're looking at a hand in that relaxed pose, I kind of did it over here on this guy as well with this little oven mitt, you know, something really quick. As you start to rotate back to that pinky along that line, there's actually quite a bit of curve that happens in your hand, even in that relaxed state. So your knuckles can curve a lot. You know, you can get a lot of curve in there when you're making a fist or when you're, you know, doing whatever the hell this is. But when you hold your hand in that relaxed state, your hand ends up kind of wrapping around there from your index to your pinky, and you just get like a little bit of that kind of sweep going through there. So trying to retain that in that relaxed pose just to make it look a little bit nicer if you're just showing off something, showing off a sculpt or whatever. But if you plan on posing the hand later, I guess it's not incredibly necessary. I like to get as much gesture as I can in even in neutral, just because it helps once you start going into posing. Make some of that a little bit easier on you. Would I ever stream playing the game? Probably not, unless I guess a lot of people wanted me to. I mainly just stream myself sculpting in ZBrush. I don't know. I don't think there's like a lot of people that would really care too much to see that. But maybe there are. I don't know. I would guess more so people watch my stuff for the art than anything else. But maybe like on a Sunday or something when I don't normally stream, maybe I can have like a little bonus Smash Bros stream in there, and we can hang out. And I'll share my friend code, and people can join in, and we can all play. We shall see. Also, I don't in particular just want to embarrass you guys too much with my amazing Smash Bros skills. Now, if it was Melee, then we could play. Then we could do some cool things. I love me some Melee. I don't even really consider Melee a Smash Bros game anymore at this point. Just one special stream. Just one stream out of the whole year. Yes, we'll call it Smash Bros Day to celebrate the birthday of not Iwata, but the original main dev. Not Iwata. What's his name? Sakurai. We'll find out Sakurai's birthday, and then we'll do it then. Alright, a little bit of cleanup around there. Let me grab one of these fingies and figure out what we want to do here. So I have kind of done some thick to thin here and got a little bit, I think, too thick out towards the tip of the fingers. One thing that I really like to do in my fingers, especially on stylized characters, is thinking about straights versus curves, in particular on the tops and bottoms of your finger. And this is something that you see that's pretty common in illustrations as well. The top will have a very distinct point for the knuckle, where the bottom will be more of a just kind of direct curve back down into the hand. And it creates a really nice gesture, and I would like to retain some of that. I'm thinking that maybe we can bevel some of this to get that to be even more of a thing. I'm going to play around with this for a little bit, and we'll try to figure out some nice shapes. And maybe even clean up the geometry a little bit. Not that it's incredibly messy, but I think we could do something a little bit lower in poly count. What you doing there, ZBrush? There we go. Huh. Maybe I clicked the wrong button. I went to auto groups that. It should have made everything its own group, but it didn't. It's kind of weird. So sometimes when I'm trying to figure out little, like a little bit of poly modeling, sometimes I'll add in some temporary subdivs so I can get in with my sculptural brushes and actually adjust certain forms, and then I'll drop it back down to the low res, just as I'm trying to figure some things out. Sometimes it's just easier to do stuff with your clay tubes or trim or whatever. Luckily, we turned off our undos, so the quick save isn't completely freaking out on us. Try pinching some of that. So a little bit more of that gesture. Remember, I'm trying to get a little bit more of the hits on the top portion of the finger, and a little bit more rounded on the bottom, thinking about straights versus curves here. And I need to start trying something with tapering here as well. I don't really want too much of the dip in that we're getting there. I want that to be pretty much flat. So 1, 2, 3, all the way up to the top. And then just do a single wrapping shape. Just like that. And then if I want to clean this up and try to get something low poly out of this, which I kind of would, I don't know how easy it will be to retain this shape, but we can try. doing some quick poly groups there, and then dynameshing out any and all original topology. Let's see what we get from a base. See remesh 0.1 keep groups. Clippa, what's going on? Your YouTube is really helping me. Well, awesome. I'm glad. Thanks so much. Yeah, absolutely, dude. I'm glad it's been helpful for you. So, with something like this, we could continue to play around with the topology. We could even use, if I wanted this to be hyper clean, I could take a topology brush to this. I could start Z-modeling some of this terrible geo out, where it gets a little bit messier than in other places. Some of this really isn't necessary. Back here. All that. You can just extrude that back. Let's play around a little bit more here. This is where it just gets really messy up here. But we could just recreate a lot of that if we wanted. Let's see. Z-modeler, delete, add to loop. I'm gonna square off some of this as well. And let's see, I need, this is more of just for a temporary connection. Be playing around with this for a little bit. There's a lot of ways that you can go about doing what I'm doing. I am essentially using some trickery with Z-modeler to get around jumping into another program. Poly modeling, what? We can do that in ZBrush. And I know I'm going a little bit fast here with some selections and different functions, so just let me know if there's something that I do that's like a little too confusing. I'm essentially just manipulating some points around until I get a shape that is closer to, I could even do this along a symmetrical axis if I wanted, so it's even easier and faster. And it's not really necessary. Maybe we can play with that. Let's see real quick. Deformation unify. If I was trying to make a really nice finger. Wrong way. I have to do a lot of adjustments here. I think I'll just stick with messing with this down here, at least for now. I want to get a little bit more volume, I think, around the sides of the fingers. It's pretty flat right now, which isn't bad necessarily. Just feels a little bit too flat, too tapered. And honestly, what I had before in terms of shape was probably fine. But like I said, we're just kind of experimenting, seeing if we can maybe get something a little bit more useful out of what we're doing here. Wanted to get that a little bit closer before I tried projecting any of that. So now I have something that fits the original finger pretty well and also has, you know, some lower poly topology, easier to work with. The one thing I will do though is add an extra extrusion back here. Really quick. Add some extra length. Oops. Not that it's super necessary, I just want it to flow back into that hand more properly. Yeah, back through that area, be less visible. But let me do that again for the projection here. Make sure this doesn't completely break on me. Then we can clean this up however we want. And I'll just delete the old finger. And now we have this with subdivs, cleaner, poly count, a few different benefits. Set up some poly groups between the segments, make it easier to pose and adjust later. Pretty good for moving forward for this. It is a gummy worm, yes. You wish you got the dexterity with the transform tool, but you're stuck on the gizmo. There's nothing wrong with the 3D gizmo. You know, one's not better than the other. Each one has different functions that the other one can't do, so when I do need the functions of the 3D gizmo, I will switch to it. Luckily, it's really easy. There's just one button press. Did you invert your default masking somehow so it masks everywhere but where you select? Yeah, you can mask, or you can unmask, or control click. So control click, drag, mask, control click, drag, mask. Control click, alt, and drag is negative mask, so you can unmask. If nothing is masked and you unmask an area, it will mask everything but that area. Control click, mask, control alt click, mask. Also, if you have something masked, that's also a new feature to ZBrush 2018. You can control click to invert your mask. Don't feed Gizmo after midnight. True, true. That will help in the future? I sure hope so. I use it all the time. I am a masking fiend. Mask all the things. Mask all the things. So we got a fingy. Yay, fingy. One fingy down. And then for the hand, could make that a little bit more clean, a little bit more workable. I'm going to turn this into an insert brush, so I feel like I should. I should also make each finger an individual insert, but let me reline up these fingers. So, duplicate. I really need to reassign that hotkey to something else. Actually, does anybody know? I might have to manually do this in my hotkey text file. Might be the only way to delete a hotkey. I tried to set it to something that I didn't use very often, but it ended up causing even more problems. I'm gonna open that up. Where is your hotkey? Doesn't have a... Actually, I think I know where my hotkey file is. Never mind. Here are my hotkeys. 1 second here. I'm looking for Shift R. This. You. Go away. So oh, you know what? That might reset the default. I don't know if this will or not. So Shift R by default renders your ZBrush scene. I don't know if this is going to work or not. Let's see. Hopefully this doesn't like crash ZBrush or something. I've never manually edited my hotkey file. I assume it's just like plain text. It shouldn't matter. Load. I'm wondering if it'll go back to the default. Shift R by default is render, and I press it on accident all the time because I'm, you know, smoothing something and then I'll shift to my rotation transpose. Did it work? Oh my gosh. It worked. Right? Yes, it did. Ah. What is this, though? What's going on here? Okay, it's just some glitch. Cool. Oh, I'm so happy. It's been annoying me for a while. I'm fixing all my ZBrush problems today. Store. No, it went back! It did go back! ZBrush, you stupid, stupid software. I'll have to figure out something else to set Shift R to. I originally had it set to ghost mode, but when I'm using transparency, it'll set it up, turn it on for me. That's kind of annoying. I was like, I never use this, or I don't use it very often, so this will be better. It was not. It was not better. Alright, let's realign the rest of these fingers really quick. I'll figure out something else for my Shift R hotkey. Just got home from work and Smash is calling. Oh boy. What are you doing here? Get that Smash Bros on. Get to smashing some bros. I'll also try to add some more curve to these fingers, a little bit more gesture. Yeah. Changing the file like worked for 2 seconds, but then after storing the config, it broke. It broke again. Kind of thinking that might happen though. So I'll realign these and adjust the pose a little bit more, then probably clean up the hand. The story mode for Smash Bros. What's it called? Something light. I couldn't care less. I'll probably just go straight to smashing it first and then check out the story mode later. World of Light, that's what it's called. I just want a good Smash game. Nintendo's so strongly against making their game good competitively, which really doesn't make any sense because for competitive games, making the game better for competitive play doesn't actually make it worse for casual play, as a party game. Because the people that still play it casually, well, the people that play it competitively are going to be the ones that play it the most and continue playing it for years to come. But the people that play it casually, they're not going to know any different. They're going to be playing with items and everything else, and even if they aren't, you know, I prefer games with really large skill ceilings. Something like Rocket League. Something like Melee. And I wish Nintendo would listen to their community a little bit more. Maybe the next Smash game, we'll see. You too, yeah. They introduced back melee tactics? No, they did not. No, they did not. It's Smash 4, but a little bit faster. And I actually think that the game will end up being more defensive, specifically because of the new perfect shielding mechanic, because it rewards defensive play. which I think is silly. It rewards... You should reward a player for doing something well. Holding a shield and then letting go of the shield when you're getting, pummeled is not good. It teaches the player that the best strategy is to play defensively. And there's no... Hit stun is really low. What's so awesome about Melee, and what I love about Melee so much, is that when you hit a player, you grab a player and throw a player up in the air, you have a chance to follow up that move. And it leads into a situation where you have like this crazy mix-up tree of the player getting hit has an opportunity to be rewarded for doing something well, which is DI. So if they know the certain scenario, they can maybe directionally influence their character to fly a certain direction to either save them from getting into the blast zone to die, or to save them from getting hit from the opponent. The other player that actually hit the player gets a chance to be rewarded by figuring out what the player is going to do, or knowing a specific move that can kind of follow up and continue that chain of combos. In every scenario from that of hit, throw, hit, whatever kind of chain you're going down, each opportunity is like this crazy complex rock, paper, scissor-esque tree of, rewards and punishes. But with Smash 4 and Smash Ultimate and even Brawl, they took that away from the game completely, making the game less competitive. There are opportunities for follow-ups after attack, but in Smash Ultimate, they made the game have even more knockback, even faster, thus, almost removing the juggling part of the game, which Nintendo has stated before that, it feels it's unfair to the players, especially to people that are worse. So they've taken that Mario Kart-esque rubber banding that they love and essentially said, oh, you're losing? Well, not only are you losing and you have a lot of damage on you, but also here at this percentage of damage, which I think is 120% in the new Smash Ultimate game, you now have rage. And when your character is raged, you're rewarded for doing bad. So now you can smash the other player and deal a lot more knockback. That's such a stupid mechanic, especially for a game that, a lot of people play as a competitive game. Whereas Nintendo has very clearly shown with these mechanics and their attitude that they do not want it to be. End of Smash Bros. Rant. So the reason why I think the shielding mechanic rewards defensive play more so than the way it used to work, one, why do you change it? It was really hard to do and you got really rewarded for doing it well. Now, if you're in a situation where you're shielding and you're getting hit, or let's say it's like a jab where you're getting multi-jabbed, you're defending, right? The point of attacking someone's shield is that, shield beats attack, right? There's the little rock, paper, scissors tree. Attack, or shield beats attack, grab beats shield, attack beats grab, right? Rock, paper, scissors. But when you're attacking a shield, not only... You're supposed to be putting them in what's called shield stun, right? You're putting them in a scenario where they can't get out of their shield, and they might have to jump out of their shield, which is luckily still a mechanic in the game, or, roll away maybe if they can, if they're not in shield stun, if they get a chance, or their shield will break, right? And that's really bad. But now, when you're getting pummeled and you're in your shield, you can just let go of your shield button at a specific moment to get a perfect shield and then have an opportunity to escape. So, because of that, it ends up rewarding defensive play more so than in previous Smash games where a perfect shield happened when you pressed the shield at within the frame window of when you were being hit by an attack. More defensive play. New perfect shielding mechanic makes the game more defensive. Unfortunately. Honestly, I wish they went the Rivals of Aether route, because I think they probably... If Rivals of Aether had the Smash Bros. Graphics and Nintendo behind them, I think it would be one of the most played competitive games around. there are no shields in Rivals of Aether. There is only a counter, which is essentially a perfect shield. So right when you get attacked in Rivals of Aether, what you do is you press the shield or counter button, which is what it's called in Rivals of Aether, and if you do it within that frame window, the other player stops for, I think, half a second or something, and gives you an opportunity to punish them. There are also, I don't think there are grabs in Rivals of Aether in the traditional sense for most characters either. Makes the game a lot faster, a lot more fun to watch, you know, but that game was developed with the idea of it being a spectator game, a competitive game, in all sense of the term. Smash Bros is like a giant Nintendo title, and Nintendo is trying to make a game for, I don't want to say the lowest common denominator, but they're trying to make a game that drives sales. Hence why they put a ton more characters into Super Smash Bros. This time around, because it drives sales. Oh my god, they put Ridley in it? I have to buy it now. But in reality, I would be okay playing a Smash Bros. Game that had like one character, only one character, as long as it was just really, really, really good and really polished in terms of a competitive game. I would play the hell out of that. There's actually a website that you can go to. I can't remember the link off the top of my head or what it's called, but you can play, I think it's called Melee Lite. You can play it in your browser with, you know, a controller that you hook up, or with a keyboard if you're a psychopath. But it's really, really fun. And that is an example of, there's only like 3 or 4 characters that you can play, but that's a really good example of a situation in which, you know, the competitive is focused more on than like, hey, let's just add in 20 more characters. Now more people will buy it. Rage is supposed to... If you can toggle off the rage mechanic, that would be fantastic. I saw online that some people thought that you might be able to. I haven't seen it actually confirmed yet. That's probably one of the first things I will do when loading up the game. The rage mechanic in general is just rubber banding. There's no way around, you know, arguing that. It's just a rubber banding mechanic, and it's a bad mechanic in my opinion. I think it's a good mechanic in terms of a party game, but in terms of, you know, the game that I want, it is not that. They should introduce the shield ball. I'm not sure what the shield ball is. I think maybe you're talking about the smash ball for a random chance at a comeback. See, that's bad. That's bad for a competitive game, though. Having a random chance at a comeback is more so a party game. A random chance at a comeback doesn't take skill. It doesn't take the ability to win. That would be like in a race, if someone is, you know, really far behind. Think Mario Kart, right? Oh, all of a sudden they get a star for a random chance at a comeback. It's like, well, or you could have just beat the player, you know, in a competitive sense. You could have just been better than them, right? Yes, a keyboard would be terrible. Rage is not when you get the smash ball. No, that's to activate your smash move, your ultra, if you were thinking of in terms of like a traditional game, like a traditional fighter like Street Fighter. You have your special move, right? Rage is a mechanic where I won't look up a video because I don't want to get copy striked or something. But Rage is a mechanic in which once you reach a certain percentage of damage, your character starts flashing, and when you hit the opponent, you deal more knockback to your opponent. It essentially is a way for the game to rubber band and give the player that's behind and losing, or, you know, has more damage on them, a chance to kill the opponent more easily. It is a rubber banding mechanic, much like in... If you don't know, I keep saying rubber banding. Rubber banding is if a player is behind or losing, give that player a benefit. So in Mario Kart, you get better items depending on how far back you are in your place in the race. So if you're in last place in Mario Kart, your probability of getting a star or a blue turtle shell or a super mushroom are way higher than in first place. I think when you're in first place in Mario Kart, I believe the only items that you can get, at least in the older Mario Kart games, I don't know if this has changed, but the only items that you could get would be a green turtle shell or a banana peel, and that was like it. So that is rubber banding in a nutshell. Temporary OP to come back. I'm not sure what that temporary overpower to come back. Yeah, you get shells and bananas in first place. I'm pretty sure that's all you get. It's been a while since I've Mario Karted. Alright, this is getting really messy through here. I think I'm going to clean this up and do some kind of proxy merge, maybe? Let's see. To merge all of our fingers together. Yes, go check. See if you can turn off that rage mechanic. Later, nerds. See if we can I'll probably just like smooth this out really quick to tighten it in. And then let's see here. I'll just leave that. Man, it's kind of bad right through here. Let's do this. Trying to make some new hands that I can use as insert mesh later, so I want to spend, you know, quite a bit of time cleaning these up. If it's going to be something that I reuse over and over for other characters, if I insert a hand on another character, well, I don't want to have to redo all this cleanup every single time, so I should do it now. Much like what with what I did with the ear that I was creating for the insert ear brush. So I'll just duplicate this and merge it down. It's going to reconstruct subdivs, unfortunately. Oh, no, it won't. Okay. It's fine with me. And then use this. So let's see what 500 does for the res. Maybe go a little higher. I just want to merge this stuff together, get this clean. Get ready for Bully Saturday, that's right. What's going on, Hugh? Thank you for the follow. So, this Saturday, tomorrow, we're doing some live critiques here on stream. If you guys want to get your stuff critiqued, whoops, on stream, all you have to do is email me a ztool at follygon@gmail.com and include some information about your file. And I will take a look here on stream, and we'll make fun of you in front of everybody. No, we won't do that. The objective is to improve whatever you're working on, so the more information that you can give me about what you want me to specifically look at for the critique and the file and everything else, I'll be able to help you out. So, again, follygon@gmail.com, send me a ZTool. Please don't send me a ZBrush project. Those are really heavy files and unnecessary. But yeah, we'll have a lot of fun. We've been doing some cool stuff on the critiques lately. I've been having fun playing around with them. And I'm hopefully for you guys they've been helpful, even though I know a lot of you haven't got your specific work critiqued. I think just seeing critiques in general can be really helpful. Even if it's not for your, specific sculpt or 3D model. Yeah. My body is ready. My body is Reggie. Alright, so the objective with something like this, with the fingers, I'm not keeping these merged. I'm doing a temporary merge so that I can connect them up to the fingers a little bit better. And let's see here. Our music died. So if you look at your fingers, or I'm sorry, your just hand from the profile, kind of rotate around here, the back side of your hands, your fingers will appear much longer than on the front. And that's because of the webbing of your fingers has a little bit of an angle to it, a little bit of a slope there coming back. So we'll want that to be a little bit higher on the inside and here, right? But then on the top side of the palm, we'll kind of pull that back a little bit, kind of like what we've done already, but I think I'll maybe even exaggerate that more. I'm actually going to just delete these fingers that I temporarily merged already at this point and try to get that angle here. So I'll typically try to create like a basic wedge shape when trying to do this. Just to get an idea here. Now that I have those finger locations figured out, I can also sculpt this in a little bit better. Start off with like a little bit of a stronger brush here with the dam standard. Then we'll also focus on getting that wedge shape even more so. So from the profile, quite a bit more than what we have right now. Continue flowing that through there. And maybe even, depending on how well I can line that up, I can maybe just do a quick little cut. Get rid of some of that excess material that we don't need. I will have to probably lengthen some of these fingers though, to get that back into place. And what I typically like to do when I am, blocking out some of these features for my palm of my hand, I tend to at least a little bit more strongly carry this line all the way back here, and I'll exaggerate that a little bit and then probably pinch it up just to get, depending on how far you're going to go with exaggerating some of those bones there, you can go as far as you want. I typically end up start to exaggerate them, and then I knock them back a little bit after sculpting them in there. But I'll also have to get our knuckles back. But all of this is to end up with a cleaner shape here. I think I'm just going to remesh this now. It's just too difficult to work with this poly count. So I'm just going to do that really quick. You're retopoing the chibi head. I'm not sure how much of a critique I can get. I don't know, we can maybe take a quick look at it. Won't hurt. It's up to you if you want to send it in though. Being all leggy, come on. Come on. Try to get even more of that wedge. I kind of want to get a little bit more of a clean shape like what I'm getting wrapping around down here. I don't know how much I can exaggerate that before it starts to look kind of weird, but let's try it at first. Pull that line all the way through and definitely clean up this transition. And up here, this will be a little bit different, so maybe wonder how much we can just plane this out. Try to get a little bit more of the gesture of the knuckles in there as well. And I could probably get a lot more curve in here. And that's something that I didn't really do too much of in this hand. So I wouldn't mind really doing that either. If we look at these fingers, they're all pretty straight here in terms of position. Whereas, especially in a relaxed pose, you're going to see a lot more curve in your knuckles. So let's try, not rotating, but probably just shifting a few of these around with our move transpose line. And maybe a little bit of rotation back here on the pinky. Let's see. Oops, Shift R. This is why I press it on accident all the time. It's really annoying. That's why I need to change that hotkey. I'll find something really obscure in a menu that I never use and change it to that. Is there a button that doesn't do anything? There probably is somewhere in your preferences. Or maybe I can make it pull up that menu or something. It is very annoying though. Alright, so a little bit more gesture of the hand here. A little bit more curve. Probably pull some of these back just to make sure that they're fitting. Just use my move brush really quick. And yeah. Alright. So starting to get a little bit more of that. Probably a little bit too thick through here. My hand is definitely not this thick compared to the rest of this. So probably could rotate this. I think I'm just gonna, maybe not. Yeah, maybe let's try that. Alright, let's grab some of this and then just use a mask brush, invert that mask, rotate a little, try to find a good angle here. And what I want to avoid on a lot of this is looking at the hand here. I pretty much want a straight hit from this point down to the knuckles, and we're just getting a little bit too much volume, a little bit too round through here. So I'll just use my move brush and try to get more of a straight through there. I'm really going to try simplifying that. I can mess with some of the thicknesses for our fingers and everything else. And I really want to get more gesture out of these fingers. More curve. I just want to do a quick few rotations. Just so that's looking a little a bit nicer in the profile. Oh my gosh. Shush. Shush, Tom. Stomach just growled super loud. Need me some foods. That's what I just said, yeah. My tongue just growled super loud. Need to eat foods. Didn't have time for the breakfast today. Normally I do a pretty large breakfast because I'll stream for like 3 or 4 hours, and I'll eat lunch at like 4 p.m. So I'll eat a really big breakfast and try not to starve. But I did not eat today. Not yet. But I will. No worries. I'm not gonna waste away yet. Hopefully. Alright, let's get a little bit more of a cleaner plane through here. And a little bit harder to select now with the curve. Let me just mask this off all the way through there. And pull some of this down a little bit more too. There's a little bit more thickness, maybe a little bit more angle there. Trying to really exaggerate that a little bit more. Get that wedge shape. Honestly, this is all gonna blend through here, so that's not gonna matter too much. Try to pull that line all the way through. And it's getting there. But I do like some of the nice clean shapes that we're getting here, wrapping all the way through. It's looking pretty good. In terms of a blackout, I think we've helped in simplifying a lot of this form. In terms of reusing, I would probably not connect the fingers down into the hand, because depending on what character I'm creating, I might even break off the thumb. But depending on the character that I'm creating, I don't want to run into a situation where the fingers are drastically different or the hand is drastically different and I have all this stuff combined together and I'm just going to have to remake it. So having that more piecemeal makes it a little bit easier to use it in multiple scenarios, which is why for, you know, all those insert mesh brushes that we made earlier, I made like the insert eyeball, the insert eyebrow and eyelash and eyelid, and the insert ear, making each of those separate instead of just having, you know, a basic head that you can work on. So then when you run into a situation where you have a character with an ear like this, and maybe the ear on your base mesh doesn't fit it really well, well, now I can just insert this ear that I have a shape that's pretty close to this. Or I also have a really realistic ear that I could insert if I'm doing something a little bit more in the shape of a real ear. So it just makes it easier, at least for me, to kind of handle that stuff piecemeal. A lot of the time I do stuff from scratch though, even if I have, you know, base meshes and all sorts of insert mesh brushes that I can reuse, just because I like getting the practice in there, and I think doing stuff from scratch is a really good way to get that practice. You know, I recommend if you're doing something that you're getting paid for production, it's not really the time to be focusing on, you know, doing everything from scratch necessarily. Some people, I think people that are newer to the industry, newer to the ideas might think, oh, well, that's cheating. If you're working on something that you're getting paid for, like, that's like not even remotely close to people's minds. You should cheat. I'm not saying steal people's work. I'm saying use as much as you can to, you know, finish a project as quick as you can. That's what everybody does in production. Got a nice brush that can help you out? you should use it. You got a nice base mesh that you can use to help you out, you should use it. But I think that's probably about as far as I will take these fingers. Like I said, being able to reuse them later for other stuff is going to be extremely important. So other than this, you know, I might realign, clean up some of that a little bit more, maybe pull that in, maybe actually make some of these a little bit thinner with deformation deflate, or inflate but negative. Pull that one in a little bit on the pinky. Let's see, maybe over here as well on some of these. I don't know, I think they're fine. I'd be fine using this. I'll just line it up ever so slightly better than what I have. Alright, cool. So to turn this into an insert mesh brush, we'll do the same thing that we did for our other ones. Let's see. I'm going to just combine these, I think, for now. Merge down. They both have 5 subdivision levels. And what direction do I want this going? So when you originally insert something like this, I don't think it will have the subdivision levels, but they will still be there. You'll just have to go to here, delete lower. So if you don't have any, this reconstruct button will be available to you, and you can reconstruct your subdivision levels from there. Which way would I like to insert this? I'll probably be doing it from the profile, I think. And save as, and I'll just call this, or here, let me find out, where'd that folder go? Lost my folder where I was saving these. There it is. Alright. Insert, sure, insert hand. Works for me. Cool. Faster you can block a character by using base meshes, the more time you have to make the changes that they want. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think we got a pretty good gesture going on here for the actual fingers rolling back. In terms of just silhouette in general, I like a lot of the stuff that's going on here. There's definitely some stuff that, you know, can still be cleaned up and changed, but I think in terms of just a base, I'm pretty happy with that. So how we would use that, oh, you know what, the other thing I need to do is change the depth to 0. It shouldn't matter too much, but just might as well, right? So now if we go to our mannequin boy here, we can delete our mittens. I'll just hide them for now. And then grab our sleeve here, sleever. Grab our insert hand brush and just click and drag. Pull out a hand, just like that. Whoops. And then just rotate it, scale it into position, and we should be good to go. We'll delete that. Now we have a brush that inserts a nice hand for us. Pretty cool. And then we can reshape this hand up however we need. Looking at the concept image, hands could be probably a little bit wider and fatter based on the hands that I created, and some of the fingers can be a little bit fatter and squared off. I would say other than that though, just kind of going off of basically what I can see here in the reference, I think that'd be pretty close. But yes, I think these hands will come in handy. Does anybody know how he is doing the brush, or making the brush bigger and smaller? Noob question. Yeah, to increase and decrease the size of your brushes, it's your draw size slider up here. Or if you hold the space bar, there's a quick menu that pops up all those Copen Bendito, thank you for the follow. If you hold the space bar, it will pop up a few of these items that are up here, and you can just adjust these on the fly. See how it's highlighting those at the top of the screen as I mouse over them? They're the same sliders, but spacebar brings those up. I just spit on my screen here. Oops. Alright, let's maybe scale up our hands a little bit more. Maybe a little. I'll also delete our little mittens that I quickly made earlier. Alright, I think these hands will be pretty useful later on. So, today, as I mentioned at the beginning of the stream, I would be creating a lot of new brushes and insert brushes essentially for different things. So far, we've cleaned up an insert eyeball that I had and made it a lot cleaner and just a little bit of a better shape. I also have an insert eyebrow, eyelid, and eyelash brush that I was creating there. An insert ear for a stylized and a more realistic ear. And then we just did our insert hand brush there, which should be very useful. So all of those brushes I will be adding to my Gumroad under my Follygon brushes. If you already own this, if you've been hanging out here for a while, you might already own this. If you do, then all these updates will be for free. You'll just get these new brushes for free. I'll be adding them on here. There's 8 in here right now. I think I'm adding probably like 8 more, so there's going to be like 8 new brushes in here. And if you want to get the new brushes plus all my most standard sculpting brushes, it's $3, and you can get probably what's going to be around 15-ish brushes. There's some other stuff on here for my Gumroad. Quick start course for absolute beginners. Bendito was asking he said noobish question, so maybe that would be something you're interested in. The whole point of the course is just to get you up and running in ZBrush as quick as possible. There's a bunch of other stuff on there, but I'll let you guys check it out if you're interested. I'm gonna use that though, the insert hand brush. I think it'll be cool. I like it. I like it for now. I like it today, but that might change tomorrow. And then if you've been following along, we've just been doing some more mannequins. I'm going to delete all these mannequins. Delete all, delete all. And then very quickly, I'm just saving some undo history on this guy, because I actually haven't done that in a while. And I will be wanting the undo history later. I'm going to be using the undo history to create a time lapse. And maybe I'll do one of those on stream, because they're pretty cool. Sorry to bother you. No, you're not bothering me at all. Questions are encouraged. Do I have a shortcut for that? Yeah, it's just the space bar. The space bar pulls up all these settings up here. That's the one that I use. I think if you press the S key as well, it pulls up the draw size. I prefer just using the space bar because it pulls up a lot of different stuff that I find pretty useful. But I mean, I guess it's really up to you. what, you know what? I was gonna wait for that to be done, but I'll mention again. Critiques tomorrow, this Saturday. If you want to send in your stuff, type in !critique in chat for the instructions. But just send me your ztools, follygon@gmail.com, and I'll be taking a look at those. I am gonna go grab some lunch because my stomach is freaking out. But yeah, I think that's really it. So tomorrow at noon EST here on the channel, same place, same time, every day except for Sunday. And yeah. Oh God. I need to become Sandwich Gone and go grab some food. Hey, Lamentio! Oh, you hiding in the background, I see. Tisk, tisk, tisk. Who are we rating today? Well, I very quickly found someone, and I think you will be very pleased to see. And we're going to do that right now. So hopefully I'll see you guys tomorrow, noon EST right here on the channel. All right, see you guys.